Welcome back, viewers at home, and thank you so much for tuning in right here on Prime Live. Now, Selepe Madisha has shown remarkable resilience and strength in the face of unimaginable adversity. After surviving a devastating car explosion, Mr. Selepe's journey of recovery and adaptation has been both challenging as well as inspiring. As a motivational speaker, he uses his experiences to empower others, and his dedication to fire prevention awareness highlights his commitment to making a difference in the community. Now, Mr. Selepe joins me this evening. Good evening and welcome to INX Prime.
Good evening and thank you for hosting me today.
It's good to have you again. I remember we had our conversation virtually and that didn't do justice to the important conversation we're having now. But for our viewers who probably didn't even catch that conversation, I'd like for you to just share with us once again in describing, the incident that led to your burn injury.
Thank you very much for that question again there. So back in 2004, September the 18th, I recall very well. This year we'll be going, Humangwas will be celebrating our 20th anniversary in terms of this. I just passed by Mill Park earlier this morning, and it seems like it's great news to the doc when I said to him, we really need to come back on that specific day to come and really do something big. I mean, there's been people at that hospital for which one can come and share with them this kind of an experience. But to my audience, what happened is we were involved in a car explosion accident, and I said to many, this took place when we were from a celebration that we had, when graduating and all those things. Obviously, for you to cement the whole entire thing, you need to celebrate, right? So celebrations go with braai, some chillers, and all of those other things there. So when we had that kind of a celebration, I remember very well, it was in Noken Park somewhere in Tembisa side of Kempton Park. And we decided that evening, because it was only the 5 of us in terms of the gents, and one of the guys there just also purchased a new Verpa at that time. And it was just a matter of saying, we cannot have the gentleman's party only, you know how it goes. And somebody then decided we need to mix up this flavor, you know how it goes, right? So for us to get that different genre, then we had to start thinking, where can we go, So somebody said, but this Verpa can go Pretoria and come back very soon. And guess what? This decision is made at around 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. Well, of course, decided, let's hit the road. And I was occupying the middle seat. And as a result, guess what? We did not even get to see that sunny side. Somewhere in Midrand, those who remember the roads very well will know very well that at that time, that was still a one-way route. And only now we are fortunate with the 6 lanes and so on. But at that time, the driver could not really see that there was a sharp curve. Drove straight into the field, and the car was stopped by an electric danger box. Seconds just before the explosion and everything can happen, the other 4 guys were able to walk out of that car. But whilst they were outside there, fortunate enough, they realized, man, there's one person that is missing, and that person was me. The reason I was still trapped in there was I went unconscious the minute the car left the tough gravel road. Now, fortunate enough, somebody came back there, tried to pull me a distance from where you are to where I am. It's about seconds, about less than 10 seconds, pulling me out of that car. Whilst they were doing that exercise, obviously, the car then exploded. They left me closer to that car, and you know how the fire could be. So that's how it came close to me, and it touched me from my head up until to the chest. So that is exactly how this traumatic thing really took place at that time.
Now, getting to the hospital and I remember you said in our last conversations you were there for 18 months, if I'm not mistaken.
18 months was the planned time, estimated time by the doctors.
But then you actually recovered way earlier. Wow, that is quite exceptional. But can you just take us through the recovery as well as the rehab process of you getting better, and what would you say in that process was the most challenging thing about the process itself?
Yeah, I think the most, rather, because I was not faced with a lot of other challenging factors if you look into that. I think the most important thing is starts with you as an individual, especially if you find yourself trapped into that kind of a situation. It's not like an illness or something like this. This was an accident. So I will not want to come and blame somebody and I will not say that an accident is something that we cause, but I'm of a view that an accident is something that we can also avoid or prevent. Now, you need not to be hard on yourself and say, but why us, Only God knew, hence my life was saved. I think it was also saved for a purpose. But we'll talk about that later on. So some of the other medical things I had to go, I said to the doctor estimates, can only estimate about 18 months. But I think the attitude that I had towards this recovery phase, I was working at the bank at the time. The only moment I was actually thinking about was missing my colleagues, missing family, missing everybody back at home. My mind was outside. I said I got this accident in September. Do you want to know a shocking story? September, October, November, December. I ask for a discharge of about 2 weeks so that I can go and celebrate what? Christmas and New Year back at home. In bandages or not in bandages. And guess what? On the 31st, when people were busy blowing those crickets, I said to the dog, I'm not going to sit here and watch the crickets through the window. I want to blow them myself as well. And he released me to go there. They showed my mother on how to dress me and whatever the case may be and clean the wounds and so on because we were still undergoing that process. Then when all of that was happening, there was enjoying drinks like everybody would come the 31st and so on. But some of the other medical key challenges that we had to do, I had to undergo 11 surgeries, or operations rather. So when we're talking about this kind of operation, somebody might come and say, what operations are there? First of all, I've got a skin graft. So simply meaning they had to take some skin from here and then put it back onto the head because the old skin that was bent and stuff obviously had to be taken out. Yeah. Now with that being done, there's also a process because then it's quite a sensitive process because if you get bacteria and stuff, the skin might come off. So that's a very sensitive space. Sometimes they take you back to an isolation room, sometimes they take you there. So those are some of the hardships you're asking about to say, what are some of the other things I had to go through, you know? But I remember very well that some of these operations maybe could have been avoided, but what if they were avoided and I couldn't have came out the version that I am today? Because I remember very well, I was sharing with you that one last time and I said, my mouth was too small. And I said to the doc, I mean, come, man, look at this. I mean, now, are you now saying one should actually stick to Vienna's only and then forget about when people are running up and down with Russians and wars and stuff? I must not count myself there because now it's something I cannot be able to take. I said, doc, do something about this, right? I mean, from here, then he had to go. And let me tell you a shocking story on how expensive this whole entire thing could be. So they cut just from here to there, and then they cut just from here to there. These two cuts and stuff like that cost about 22,000. That's how sensitive this whole entire process could be. You can take it very light because it's not something that the dog is going to do whilst you are just watching. Like you have to be, undergo the theater thing and all those other stuff. It has to be stitched, has to go checks here and there, all of those other things. But to the best of their ability, I think the attitude that I had towards recovery is what really made me to become who I am today.
Now, this attitude you keep referring to, I want to know, because right now, as you're telling me this ordeal story and the experiences you went through in terms of the hospitalization part, is the person that I'm seeing, the spirit of positivity and, energy, was this the same person prior to the accident, or it's somebody that was birthed on the accident or at the hospital bed? That's what I just want to confirm because, wow, like even the way you narrating this story, it's not something where we all want to tear up, but it gives hope. So I want to understand from you is, were you always this positive, or it's the hospital bed and the realities of what you had went to that literally gave birth to this positive individual?
Yeah, no, thanks very much for that positive question, I must say. I think I've always been a positive person. Okay. Far most, I've always been, when they said somebody is a self-starter. So I've always went for things to say, for me to reach that happiness, I need to really put some more efforts and all these things. My friends that know me even before the accident and stuff, for those who recalls the previous face, and have never seen or heard about me with these bands and stuff. Say for instance, I used to go the same class with you maybe back in the days as grade 10, grade 12, whatever the case may be. And I get to meet with you at Kilani Mall. And maybe we meet at the queue, and at that queue, you happen to be at the back of me, but because you don't know about my experience and stuff like that, first thing first, you're going to pick the voice. Secondly, you're going to pick man, this chap, I know him from somewhere. And that's how some of my previous colleagues get to recall me. But I want to really encourage people to say, it's never too late, of course, to really accept this kind of a thing. And if you can allow me maybe just to share with them the 3 pointers that gives me this energy and keeps me going as a person. And that is something that I always go out there, especially with the schools, to try to teach these young ones to say, in life, you will still overcome a lot of things. But I want to always share with them those 3 pointers to say, if you can have what we call self-acceptance. Accept yourself. It is what it is. It is what it is. I was offered an offer for a plastic surgery and I said, no. You're not going to form another Wakojaku in South Africa. I'm okay the way I am. And it is what it is. People must accept it the way it is. And I found my wife in this condition, loved unconditionally so. There's my daughter, there also is a support all the time and so on. So you need to accept yourself because somebody else is going to accept you out of that, right? Now, the second pointer that I always say to the people is you always have to have that self-confidence. Self-confidence is something you need to tell yourself you can do this thing. I had that confidence of saying, when I come out of this, I don't know how I envisaged this. I always wanted to become a speaker. But I think I did not have a base of what is it that I'll be telling people. I'm somebody that did not want to come and be a speaker that come and tell you to say Mandela once said so and so once said and so. No, I don't want to. I have found those kind of speakers really not, I'm not saying they're not making an impact.
Yeah.
Those are called motivational speakers. I'm an inspirational speaker. I tell you a life story. And I make pointers out of this life story to encourage somebody out there. The last but not least point that I want everybody really to cherish is self-love. Love yourself. No one is going to love you more than any other thing. From day one of that hospital and whatever the case may be, if you saw me, I've always been on the tees in terms of my suits, always looking the part. And the minute you look that part, when you look that part, it also helps in terms of your confidence. Because if you cannot, if I just wear unnecessary, now the way I'm here, you might even assume, hey, this one perhaps it might be a dentist or something like that. And that's the way I want to be seen, right?
Oh, that is quite exceptional. And I think the 3 pointers I want to just rephrase with you is self-acceptance, self-confidence,
yes,
as well as self-love.
Yes.
I'm definitely going to key those on my journal because that is quite important that we actually accept ourselves and be confident in who we are is definitely loving ourselves. Now, my other question to you this evening is, I want to know when you earlier on, you were like, you wanted to be a speaker, but you didn't know what were you going to say or tell or share with your audience. Now that you went through this ordeal trying to drive to Pretoria and back, and things happened, how do you then now package your story? Well, we firsthand just saw how you're doing it, but I want to know from you what process goes into you sharing your personal story to help inspire as well as motivate others on what you went through in your aspirations of being inspirational speaker.
Yeah, no, thanks very much for that. I think even when I do my talks, first thing first, I start going back by telling you how I became a car explosion burn survivor. Because then I'll start by introducing myself very easy and telling you how the whole story that I told you in terms of how it happened. But the key title that comes out is that I proclaim myself as a car explosion burn survivor.
Wow.
That's the key title that stands out. In any case, then becomes a renowned inspirational speaker and motivational speaker. But I also do some life coaching stuff, and I also do some leadership, mentorship, and all of those other things. And if you call me at your next celebration or event, whatever the case may be, I also do offer those master of ceremonial things and stuff because I think I was also privileged. I think this confidence, to your point, came out in the early phases of the coming out from this ordeal.
Yeah.
There was a time where I remember it was not everybody who gets that privilege. And so I even say when I go to these young ones at school and I use this story, I say, you need to show up. Because no one is you don't know who's watching. I remember this showing up when we were busy going some support groups and stuff, and then we meet with other burn survivors to try and encourage each other. Man, we might think, hey, I'm burned the West and whatever the case may be. Wait until you meet the West. And you'll only be encouraged by when you meet that person that is burned West. Then you ask yourself, what's wrong with you? And we happen to be sharing those kind of things in terms of those peer groups and whatever the case may be. But one thing that also gave me a courage as well is when I was chosen to become an MC of an international event called the World Jamboree, where we had there were about people coming from Canada, Taiwan, UK, I believe some of them were coming from there. Then we met at that particular time. So you can only imagine one given an opportunity to really be an MC at an event that involves burn survivors, being a burn survivor myself. That's where I think I started getting this kind of some courage to really proceed and pursue this kind of a journey.
Now, in my intro, I said you are dedicated to fire prevention awareness and this highlighting the impact you hope to make within communities. We know it's winter. There are individuals who are fortunate enough to have the likes of aircon and heaters, but then it doesn't, remove the dangers of them actually being victim to those appliances. Same thing with the unfortunate individuals who use the likes of your mbaulas, who use, Coke bottles for water bottles and stuff. They also are susceptible to becoming burn victims. What would you say is your message to individuals of this kind and you believe is your work in this aspect?
Yeah, thanks very much for that. I think prevention is also better than cure, right? And knowledge is power, by the way.
Definitely.
So my urge is people need to really familiarize themselves with precautions. Many things that you come across and you see, everything has got a sticker at the back and you will see there's a caution thing and stuff. But none of us reads those kind of things. And those things are not done there to decorate the entire account. They're not put there to decorate the box of a match. There's some cautions and some things that are telling you there. But what I really want to encourage the people is, because like to your point, we all not gonna be, we all not fortunate enough. And it doesn't really mean even the fortunate ones with the aircon cannot fall danger. That aircon, if you weren't gonna sleep with that aircon and it's on its high heat the whole time and stuff like that, you inhaling that heat all the time and stuff, you're actually gonna be causing damage to your own health. So there's always going to be some things that come us up from there. But I also want to add to those ones that are makasi, they're using their own bowlers and all sort of stuff to say. Also, that's another thing. Do not keep that thing inside the house. If you do it, keep it inside the house. Keep it inside. Once it's warm, take it out. Because then the next thing is some will say, just leave it there by the kitchen, whatever the case may be. It's an open space. Nothing is closer to it, so the house can keep warm up until we wake up and stuff like that. Refrain from doing so, because not only you're running the risk of causing fire, but you're also running the risk of inhaling that thing that is coming from that coal. Coal is a chemical. So the minute, I know people that worked in coal mines before and stuff like that. I don't know what is the English word for it, but I know my gogo tells me that they call it marella and whatever the case may be. So that is what affected people in terms of what? Their lungs in the long run and stuff like that. So do not find yourself, because you might be staying with kids at your age of 9, whatever the case may be. They grow up in that house. And as they grow up inhaling such things. You'll never know. In future, they get across those kind of complications. And the other one that I think people are making it familiar nowadays, obviously trying to warm themselves up, is utilizing some warm bottles. For instance, we just spoke about a Coke bottle where you empty it, you put in water and stuff like that. And I say no, it's still a very good measure. But let's rather be careful. By the time it reaches the point where when you close it, it leaks a bit, throw it away. Don't force it. Don't force it and stuff like that. It always say to you, now I'm done. And over and above, I always ask to the young ones, obviously, like we talk about the underprivileged, because the privileged ones can go and buy these nice bottles from the other stores and so. But let's talk about the underprivileged, that are informal settlements and all of those other stuff. With you using that bottle, go and look for one of your old socks and stuff like that. Put it inside. Close it so that it becomes at least a bit portable for you. You know what I'm saying there? Then at least, instead of that bottle directly touching you, then there is a sock in between. That just makes it quite a bit easy and comfy for you to be utilizing that kind of a thing. And I think that is what something that people need to really take precaution and very serious about it. Now, the other thing that also gives me courage is we are going out there and really trying to partner with those departments, those organizations that are really doing this. I'm very privileged to say in the couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago or so, we were partnering with the Joburg Emergency Medical Services team together there with some of the other delegates and stuff like that, when doing a door-to-door educating people about the safety of this fire awareness. We will go into those shacks, and we saw very scary things, and at times we see people trying to utilize a lot of other things, connecting things and stuff just to make sure that the heater goes on, and you know, all those other things. So there was a lot of hazards that we really picked up, but I'm very glad that we were working with the relevant departments that will go back and actually help those kind of people to come out of that. So if you get the message very well, is we need to have more of these campaigns. And my edge in always the case is there are burn survivors out there. To my fellows, do not hide. Do not hide. Come out. Let's come out in numbers. Let's come out and become those ambassadors. Let's come out and become those role models. There is a skill that you've got. You are sitting there and saying, I'm not going to go out. And no, this is gone are those days that when people go out, you'll know, back in the rural areas, when you come out and you are like this, like me and stuff, people start thinking you're a witch. You know what I'm saying? Then stuff like that. So go on, let's get rid of those kind of minds and stigmas and stuff like that, and come out and show up and show our potentials, and you'll never know. This world needs your mind, not how you look and how you dress.
Mr. Madisha, unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I have to say this was quite an inspirational conversation with you that has left me empowered and informed about, keeping warm, but also prioritizing safety, as well as not being, caged by, certain experiences that I think the best terminology we use is ordeals, and we shouldn't let them, define us. Whereas you're saying, my fellow burn victims, let's come out in numbers and be mentors and be beacons of hope.
Turn that obstacle into what? Into an opportunity. That's the word.
Turn that obstacle into an opportunity. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much for hosting me once again.
Viewers at home, I have learned a lot. Self-confidence, self-love, self-acceptance, and turning obstacles into opportunities. That's what I've learned. I don't know what you have learned. Probably you have learned that, if you are using that Coke bottle, make sure you put a sock to it. And if it's leaking, definitely it's time for it to go into the bin.